Well, we're on here again with Tony Banks, Pierre Robert at WMMR. Tony is here, and he has a brand new album, solo project on the Atlantic label, and it's called Bankstatement. I'm wondering what you think of all the various tours that have gone out this summer. Now, Genesis is not touring this year, but we've seen a great number of bands reform and go out on the road. Everyone from the Jefferson Airplane to the Doobie Brothers to obviously the Who and the Kinks and the Rolling Stones. And what, from your perspective, what does all that look like?
Well, I find it's amazing how any sort of a lot of these older bands can get together, but they seem to automatically have attention given to them. You know, that's what's kind of strange to me. Whether that's good or not, I don't know. I'd almost prefer that attention to be going to new acts, you know, because I think it keeps the business fresher. And I mean, a lot of these groups are being remembered for stuff they did a very long time ago. And they haven't really necessarily, I'm not saying, you know, all of them, but some of them haven't really done anything recently that is to recommend them particularly. And so in a way, it's kind of taking up space in the business. And it's less chance for my record to get played, you know? No, I don't know, I find I like the way there's a sort of loyalty to old groups, obviously. I think that's nice, but it's almost too easy in some ways. You sort of feel a group hasn't been around for 10 years, then they don't deserve to be able to sort of just join back together again and be big, you know? It seems too easy.
Do you think that the people that follow them, because some of a lot of the younger people who were in the audiences of these concerts this past summer weren't even around when the band originally came? Well,
that's true. I suppose a lot of those early songs people are hearing for the first time, you know, sort of more recently. And I mean, obviously they sound good, that's the thing. So there's a sort of element in me that quite likes that aspect of the fact that, I mean, there's no reason, because the song was great in 1968 or something, it's probably still great now, and an awful lot of people haven't heard it.
Right.
And some people get away with doing cover versions of those early songs, you know, and I don't really approve of that. In a way, I prefer the original to be a hit a second time round. It seems sort of fairer, that to me somehow. So I don't think that side of it I don't mind. So I'm confused, as you can see, about all this. I mean, the groups that I like, so that when they're doing things, I'm happy about it. The ones I don't like so much, I prefer they sort of didn't do it again, you know.
Well, how about you and Genesis? How do you guys figure out when to come together and when to branch apart for a while, do your solo?
Well, we've done it very much now when we do a kind of album as a group and then a bunch of touring, and then we sort of take time off to do things independently, and we've done that for about 10 years now. And we decided a long time ago that we wanted to keep the group going because we felt it was still doing good music and we're still enjoying it and everything. But we nevertheless knew we'd get frustrated if we didn't allow ourselves to do other things, and so that's why we created the gaps. And it's, you know, so we have to make some sort of decision once we've finished one Genesis project and we start on this other things. We make a rough plan as to when we're going to restart again as a group.
And when is that, you know? Well, people always want to know.
I know, they do. They always want to know. Well, a week ago we were having a chat because we settled a few months ago that we reckon that was going to be the beginning of 1991. And
You'll go in the studio and record.
Yeah. You know, obviously before then we got various things that are coming up. I mean, obviously I'm working through this Bankstatement thing, and hopefully I can, you know, I'd like to do more in this lineup because I think it works very well. Phil has got a record coming out probably later this year because he's just about finishing it in the studio, so that's one thing. And then Mike and the Mechanics, you know, I think he wants to do another record before doing another Genesis record to try and build up a bit of momentum, I think.
Now, would you consider touring behind this Bankstatement?
Well, I'd like the idea of doing some live gigs. I'd tend to like to do it on a very small scale, which is probably the only chance I get. But to do it with, you know, I would really want to see how this record goes a bit, first of all. I think it'd be very difficult to tour if no one's interested in the record, you know, or you can't get any sort of momentum going from it, then I feel I'm sort of flogging a dead horse and probably wouldn't bother. But if it is successful, I'd like to do some more with it. Maybe do another album with the same lineup would be my first thing to do, and then possibly just do a few dates. I don't really feel. I mean, you know, in any kind of live situation, I'm always going to be somewhat background, you know. So it's less important to me, perhaps, than it is to some other people. But it's something I would like to do, and also be quite fun to be able to replay some of the early some songs I've done in the past with this lineup, because it would be quite exciting because a lot of people would never have heard them. You know.
I think people would come out and see you. I definitely do.
Well, we press gang them, yeah.
You know, do you think, as a solo artist, you think the support is enough? You know, like from the record company and all that. Do they give you enough nourishment? Because it seems like with a solo project or with a beginning sort of thing, they'll water the plant a little bit, and if they see life, then they'll give it some more water. If they don't see immediate growth, then they take away the water.
I have some sympathy here. I've got record company representative in the room here, of course.
Right.
But, I mean, I do accept that really what the problem is, that we're all dependent on you guys, really. It's radio, what it's all down to. Because if you don't get played on radio, then nobody knows you're out.
Right.
Now, the question is, obviously, the record
record
company can put quite a lot of pressure on the radio stations.
Yes,
I mean,
it's hand in hand, because if the record company doesn't promote it heavily, the radio station doesn't
Well,
play
that's
it,
absolutely true, because the record company, by doing heavy promotion, shows the radio stations that they're convinced by it, you know.
And they're committed to it.
Which that's a difficult situation, obviously. So you try, obviously, what one tries to do is encourage the record company to do as much as they can, you know. Like bribe all the disc jockeys, that sort of thing. But failing that, you try and just keep the emphasis high, you know, and make them feel that they've already got something here, you know. But it's the problem is there's 2 new records out each week, you know, and I'm sure you're aware of it. You've got a stack of albums 100 high, you know, and then sort of next week another 100's added to the top of that, and everyone wants you to listen to all of them. Somebody's telling you somewhere that each one of those is fantastic.
Right.
So you have to make decisions on your own. So you've got to do a certain amount of selection. But I'm just trying to make people feel with this record that it's worth listening to if you like Genesis, or if you know the Genesis thing, sort of family kind of. Because I think that it's been proved, obviously, that Phil's stuff is, you know, sounds good, independent of Genesis, and more recently, obviously, Mike has done really well. There's only me left. Once you've done me, then you haven't got to worry about anyone else. You can forget about it a lot, you know. It's just, that would be it.
So come out and buy his record, folks.
Yeah, that's right. You know,
Bank Statements. All right, well, we thank you for stopping by, Tony. It's very nice talking with you. We're going to play the song that you sing on this album, and it's called Mr. Big. Tell us about this. Or, excuse me, Big Man.
It's actually called Big Man. There's a group called Mr. Big, isn't there? Because everyone keeps calling this song Mr. Big. But that's good, a confusion. Nothing like a bit of confusion.
One brief moment.
Big Man. Yes, well, I sing this record, this one. As I said before, I mean, having sung my last record, I wanted to keep my hand in and just sing, you know, one more track. Well, this track is a kind of very cynical lyric this has got about a person getting to the top in his particular field who doesn't deserve to get to the top in that field, you know, and when he gets there, he abuses his position. And he could be a politician, or he could be in religion, or he could just be something like a schoolmaster, you know. I don't know, it's kept pretty open as to what he actually does, but it's a little bit vicious.
Okay. The album is Bank Statement. You can find it on Atlantic Records, at all record stores, on tapes and CDs. And we thank you, Tony Banks, for stopping by and chatting with us here at WMMR.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is Big Man.
Hi, this is Tony Banks from Genesis, and you're listening to Pierre Robert on WMMR.
WMMR, block of Genesis, and that's all. No reply at all. And we heard a nice old song from Tony Banks, Undertow, on the Genesis album, and then there were 3. And we heard a couple of songs from his new album. He has a brand new solo album out. It's called Bank Statement. Really catchy title. And it was a pleasure to have Tony Banks in the studios of WMMR this morning and for the first part of the noon hour. And we played a couple of songs from that album. It's on the Atlantic label, I'll Be Waiting, and also Big Man, which is the only song on the album. There are 10 songs on the record that Tony actually sings. And that's the only song that he sings out of the 10. But it's a great record, Bank Statement, a solo project from the members of Genesis. They've all gone different ways and come back and done work together. Phil has a solo career, so does Mike Rutherford, and so does Tony Banks. And Tony's latest album, Bank Statement, is out and about. Good record, too. Very nice to have Tony in the studios today. Gave me some concert promoting tips, which I'll share with you later, too. But Pierre Robert here as we sort of begin the workforce blocks a little bit.